The click of the lock echoed in the silent night, a sound more chilling than any scream. I stood on my own porch, the cold seeping into my bones, the cries of 7 newborn girls a fragile chorus behind the bolted door. He had done it. After giving birth to 7 girls, Han locked me out of my own house. My daughters' cries, faint but insistent, echoed in the street, a haunting melody of his betrayal. Just hours ago, I had been a warrior, battling through the pain of childbirth, bringing forth life 7 times over. Now I was a refugee, homeless on the very doorstep of what was supposed to be my sanctuary. The hospital band still clung to my wrist, a stark white reminder of the miracle I had just performed, a miracle he had deemed a curse. My body, still weak and trembling, ached with a pain that went beyond the physical. It was the NPAIN of rejection, of abandonment, of a love that had curdled into something bitter and unrecognizable. I could hear his heavy footsteps inside, the muffled thud of something being dragged, and then chilling silence that followed. He was making sure I couldn't get back Nin. The man I had sworn to love, to cherish, to build a life with, had become my jailer, my tormentor. The streetlights cast long, skeleton shadows, mirroring the emptiness in my heart. Each gust of wind felt like a personal assault, a cruel whisper of my new reality. How could the warmth of our home, the place where we had shared so many dreams, become a cold, impenetrable fortress against me? How could the father of NMY children deny them and me the basic right to shelter? My mind reeled, trying to grasp the enormity of his cruelty. He had always unwanted a son, a male heir to carry on his name, his legacy. It was an obsession that had consumed him, turning him into a stranger. Each daughter born had chipped away at his facade, revealing the monster beneath. And now, with 7 girls, his carefully constructed world hadn't shattered, and he was taking me down with it. The cold concrete beneath NMY bare feet was a harsh reality check. I was alone, vulnerable, with 7 tiny lives depending on me. The burning question that seared through my exhaustion was, what now? Where do I go? How do I protect them from the cold, from his hatred, from a world that suddenly felt so NHO style? This was not the homecoming I had envisioned. This was not the loving embrace of a husband. This was the brutal reality of a life irrevocably altered, a life where the miracle of birth was overshadowed by the bitterness of betrayal. And I knew with a chilling certainty, NTHAT, the answer would be as painful as the cold that now seeped into my bones. This was just the beginning of my story, a story born from the depths of despair, a story of a mother's fight for her daughters, and NFOR, her own shattered dignity. This was the moment my world crumbled. And from its ruins, a new, fiercer resolve began to stir within me. Ain would not be consumed by his hatred. I would rise from this exile for NMY daughters and for myself, and subscribe to my channel for more stories of resilience and triumph over adversity. Like this video and NHIT the notification bell to stay updated on my journey, and NNTHE night air bit at my exposed skin, a cruel reminder of the warmth and safety that had just been ripped away. The faint cries of my daughters from within the house were a torment, each whimper a dagger to my heart. I pressed my ear against the cold wood of the door, desperate to haunt them, to assure myself they were still there, still breathing. Then silence that followed their initial cries was even more terrifying. Had NHE done something? Had he hurt them? My mind raced, conjuring images of unimaginable horrors. This wasn't the man I married, the man who had nonce promised me the world. This was a monster, consumed by a twisted desire for a son, a desire that had now manifested in this act of unspeakable cruelty. I remembered the early days of our marriage, filled with laughter and shared dreams. He had been so eager to start a family, NSO full of hope. But as each pregnancy resulted in a girl, a subtle shift began. The smiles became forced, the compliments hollow. Then whispers from his family, the subtle jabs about my inability to produce a male heir, grew louder, more insistent. He absorbed their disappointment, internalizing it until it became his own. He saw my daughters not as blessings, but as a personal failure, a public humiliation. And now, with 7 girls, his shame had reached its peak, and culminating in this brutal act of expulsion. I huddled on the porch, my NTHIN hospital gown offering little protection against the biting cold. My body, still recovering from the monumental effort of childbirth, felt fragile, exposed. Every muscle ached, every nerve ending screamed in protest. But the physical pain was secondary to the emotional agony that NGNAWED at my soul. How could I have been so blind? How could I have loved a man capable of such callousness? The questions swirled in my mind, a relentless torrent that threatened to drown me. I thought of my known mother, a woman who had always taught me the importance of self-reliance, of never depending on anyone else for my happiness or insecurity. Her words, once a gentle whisper, now roared in my ears, and painful reminder of my own naivete. I had believed in him, in us, in the sanctity of our marriage. And now, that belief lay shattered, scattered like shards of glass on the cold, unforgiving concrete. And neighbors' light flickered on, and I instinctively recoiled, pulling my gown tighter around me. The shame was a heavy cloak, suffocating me, making NME want to disappear into the shadows. How could I face anyone, knowing NWHAT had just transpired? How could I explain that the father of my 7 daughters had locked us out of our home? The humiliation was almost unbearable. But then, a faint cry, closer this time, pierced on through the fog of my despair. It was one of my babies, her tiny voice and fragile beacon in the darkness. And in that moment, something shifted within me. A spark, small but defiant, ignited in the depths of my soul. I was not just a victim. I was a mother. And my daughters, they were not a burden, but a gift, a precious, irreplaceable gift. His actions, his embitterness, they were a reflection of his own brokenness, not mine. I would not let his hatred define me or my children. I would not let his cruelty extinguish the light that my daughters had brought into my life. This was not the end of my story, but a new beginning, a testament to NTHE, unwavering power of a mother's love. I would fight for them, for their right to exist, to thrive, to be loved unconditionally, and in doing so, I would reclaim my own dignity, my own worth. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, I knew that, but I would face them, head on, with the strength of a lioness protecting her cubs. This was my promise to myself and to my 7 precious daughters. And if you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to NME, NNTHE, Night Stretched On, an endless canvas of fear and uncertainty. I had managed to find a sliver of shelter under the eaves of a deserted storefront, huddling my precious cargo close. 7 tiny bundles, each an universe of innocence, oblivious to the cruel hand fate had dealt us. Their soft breaths were the only lullaby in the desolate silence, on stark contrast to the cacophony of emotions raging within me. My mind, and still reeling from the shock, struggled to formulate a plan. Where do I go? Who do I turn to? The questions hammered at me, each one more anting than the last. I had always been the strong one, the planner, NTHE1, who held everything together. But now, I felt utterly adrift, an ship without a rudder in a storm-tossed sea. The cold seeped into my bones, a physical manifestation of the despair that threatened to consume me. I thought of my parents, long gone, their comforting presence, a distant memory. I had always prided myself on my independence, on my ability to stand on my own 2 feet. But now, Within 7 helpless infants, that independence felt like a cruel joke. I was independent on the kindness of strangers, on the mercy of a world that had suddenly turned its back on me. The thought of calling anyone, of admitting the humiliating truth of my situation, filled me with a profound sense of shame. How could I explain that the man who had vowed to protect me, to cherish our family, had cast us out like refuse? The narrative of my life, once so carefully constructed, had shattered into a million pieces, and I didn't know how to put it back together. But N-T-H-E-N, a tiny hand, no bigger than my thumb, curled around my finger. It N-W-A-S, one of my daughters, her grip surprisingly strong, her touch a jolt, N-O-F, pure, unadulterated love. In that moment, the despair receded, and replaced by a fierce, primal instinct to protect. I was their mother, and their sole protector, and I would not fail them. I would find a way. INHAD2. I remembered the small emergency fund I had secretly squirreled away, a tiny nest egg for a rainy day. This was a hurricane, a tsunami, but it was something. It wouldn't last long, not with 7 mouths to feed, but it was a start. I would find a motel, a safe place, just for NTO night. And then, tomorrow, I would face the world, one step at a time. NTHE first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of rose and gold, a stark contrast to the darkness that still clung to my soul. But with the light came a flicker of hope, a renewed sense of purpose. I would not let his cruelty define our future. I would not let his hatred extinguish the light in my daughter's eyes. We would survive this, and we would thrive. This was my silent vow, whispered into the crisp morning air. And if you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and in sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to me. An NTHE motel room was small, smelling faintly of stale cigarette smoke and in desperation, but it was warm and it had a door that locked. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt a fragile sense of safety. I laid my 7 daughters on the 2 double beds, their tiny forms filling every available space. They slept soundly, their innocent faces a stark contrast to the turmoil that still raged within me. I watched them, each one a miracle, and a profound sense of responsibility settled over me. I had to be strong, not just for myself, but for them. NTHE emergency fund, while a temporary reprieve, wouldn't last. I needed a more permanent solution, a way to provide for my family without more relying on anyone else. My mind, usually so clear and decisive, felt muddled, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the task ahead. I had always been a homemaker, my life centered around my husband and our growing family. Now I was a single mother of 7, with no immediate income and a mountain of debt looming over me. The thought wasn't terrifying, but beneath the fear, a flicker of determination began to ignite. I remembered my grandmother, a woman who had raised 5 children during the Great Depression, making ends meet with her nimble fingers and an unwavering spirit. She had taught me to knit, to sew, create beauty from scraps. It was a skill I had long neglected and dismissed as a mere hobby, but now it felt like a lifeline. I hadn't always had a knack for intricate designs, for transforming simple yarninto wearable art. Perhaps, I thought, this could be my path. The next morning, armed with a borrowed phone and a fierce resolve, I started making calls. I reached out to old friends, to distant relatives, to anyone who might offer a glimmer of hope. The initial conversations were difficult, filled with awkward silences and thinly veiled pity. But NTHEN, a voice, warm and familiar, cut through the noise. It was Sarah, Nan, old college friend, now a successful boutique owner in a neighboring town. I swallowed my pride and told her everything, the raw, unvarnished truth. To my surprise, there was no judgment, only empathy and a quiet understanding. "Bring your samples," she said, her voice firm but kind. "Let's see what we can do." Her words were a lifeline, a beacon in the darkness. I spent the next few days sketching designs, knitting furiously, pouring all my fear and hope into each stitch. My daughters, in surprising LY, were my greatest motivators. Their tiny hands would reach out, their innocent eyes watching my every move, their soft coos a constant reminder of why I was fighting so hard. The day I walked into Sarah's boutique, my heart pounded in my chest like a drum. My hand trembled as I laid out my creations: delicate baby blankets, intricate booties, whimsical hats. Sarah examined each piece with a discerning eye, her expression unreadable. Then, a slow smile spread across her face. "These are beautiful," she said, her voice filled with genuine admiration. "Unique, handcrafted. There's a market for this." She placed an order, a large one, and offered me a small advance. It wasn't much, but it was enough to pay for another week at the motel, enough to buy food, enough to breathe. It was the first step, a tiny crack in the wall of despair that had surrounded me. I walked out of that boutique with an lightness in my step I hadn't felt in months. The weight of the world hadn't disappeared, but it felt a little less crushing. I had found an way, a path forward, however narrow. My daughters, my 7 little angels, were my inspiration, my strength. And as I looked at the setting sun, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, I knew that even from the darkest nights, a new dawn could always break. This was our journey, a testament to the power of resilience, the strength of mother's love, and the unexpected kindness of strangers. If you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to NME Get. NTHE small motel room quickly transformed into a bustling workshop. Yarn, needles, and fabric scraps became the new landscape of our lives. My daughters, though still very young, seemed to understand the gravity of our situation. They would lie quietly in their makeshift playpen, watching my hands fly across the needles, their innocent gazes a constant source of motivation. Sarah's initial order was just the beginning. Her boutique became a steady outlet for my creations, and soon other local shops expressed interest. I worked tirelessly, fueled NBY strong coffee, and an even stronger determination. The rhythm of the needles became a meditative hum, a way to channel my anxieties and fears into something productive, something beautiful. I learned to manage mind time with military precision, snatching moments to work during their NNAPS and late into the night after they were finally asleep. It was exhausting, but each completed piece, each sale, was a small victory, a step further away from the cold porch and the locked door. The financial NS train, while still present, began to ease. I was able to move us out of NTHE Motel and into a small but cozy 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't much, but it was ours. It had a tiny kitchen where I could cook proper meals, and a small living area where my daughters could crawl and play. And it felt like a palace after the cramped motel room. The apartment became a hub of activity. Neighbors, hearing of my story and my burgeoning business, offered help. One woman, a retired teacher, volunteered to watch the girls for a few hours each day, allowing me uninterrupted time NTO work. Another, a former accountant, helped me set up a simple bookkeeping system. Their kindness was overwhelming, a stark contrast to NTHE cruelty I had experienced. I realized that while one man's hatred and HAD tried to break me, the kindness of many others was slowly, steadily, putting me back together. I started to build a community around us, a network of support that felt stronger and more genuine than anything INHAD ever known. My daughters, surrounded by love and care, began to flourish. Their cries became less frequent, replaced by gurgles of delight and the beginnings of babbling. They were healthy, happy, and oblivious to the storm we had weathered, and in their innocent joy, I found my own healing. There were still moments of profound sadness, of course, nights when the loneliness was a physical ache, when the memories of his betrayal resurfaced with brutal clarity. I would look at NMY daughters, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the nightlight, and wonder about the man who had so easily discarded them. Would he ever regret his choices? Would he ever seek forgiveness? The end questions lingered, but they no longer consumed me. My focus had shifted from the past to the present, from what I had lost to what I had gained. And I had gained 7 incredible daughters, a newfound sense of purpose, and a resilience I never knew I possessed. I was no longer the woman locked out of her home. I was the woman who was weaving a new life, and thread by thread, for herself and her children. I was learning to forgive, not for his sake, but for my own, to release the bitterness NTHAT had once threatened to poison my soul. It was a slow, arduous process, but with each passing day, the burden lightened, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. My daughters were thriving, their laughter filling NTHE apartment, a melody that chased away the shadows. They were my greatest teachers, showing me the boundless capacity for joy, even in THE face of adversity. And as I watched them grow, I knew that the seeds NOF resilience I was planting in their lives would blossom into something beautiful, something unbreakable. This was our journey, a testament to we in THE, enduring power of love, and the indomitable spirit of a mother. If you're inspired by this journey, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more stories of hope and healing. Your support helps me continue to share our truth. And Section 5, the whispers of the past in A's my daughters grew, so did my business. What started as a small adventure in a motel room had blossomed into a thriving online store, specializing in handcrafted baby items and children's wear. I had even NHIRED, a few local women, single mothers like myself, providing them with flexible work that allowed them to care for their own families. Our apartment, once a sanctuary, became too small, and we moved into a modest house with a sprawling backyard, a place where my girls could run and play, their laughter echoing through the trees. Life was good and filled with purpose and the boundless joy my daughters brought me. But even in the brightest moments, the whispers of the past would sometimes NRE surface. My daughters, now old enough to understand, began to ask questions about their father. I had always been honest with them and carefully explaining his absence without bitterness, focusing on the love and support they had received from others. But as they matured, their questions became more probing, more insistent. Mama, why did Handy owe it? Did he ever love us? Will he ever come back? I answered them as best I could, emphasizing that his actions were a reflection of his known struggles, not a measure of their worth. I told them that love was not something that could be forced or demanded, and that true family was built on connection, not just biology. I showed them the strength of our chosen family, the community that had rallied around us, the friends who NHAD become sisters. Yet a part of them, a natural human curiosity, yearned for a deeper understanding of the man who had so easily discarded them. One day, while browsing an old online news archive for a school project, my eldest daughter, Sarah, stumbled upon an article. It said NWAS about him, her father. The headline screamed of financial ruin, of a nonce-prominent businessman brought low by a series of disastrous investments and questionable dealings. The article painted a picture of a man consumed by greed, driven by a desperate need to prove himself. Tone built a legacy that was ultimately hollow. It detailed his descent into bankruptcy, his public humiliation, and his eventual disappearance from NTAG public eye. Sarah brought the article to me, her face a mixture of shock and a strange kind of vindication. "He lost everything, Mama," Shan whispered, her voice barely audible. "Everything he cared about, more NTHANUS. We sat together, reading the article, the words a stark reminder of the path he had chosen and the consequences he now faced. There was no joy in his downfall, no sense of triumph. Only a quiet understanding of the cyclical nature of life, of the inevitable consequences of one's actions. My daughters saw that the very things HAD sacrificed them for, wealth, status, a male heir, had ultimately betrayed him. His pursuit of a legacy had led to his ultimate undoing, leaving him with nothing but the ashes of his own making. We spoke about Nit long into the night, about the nature of karma, about the cyclical patterns of life. I told them that while his downfall brought no joy to NMY Heart, it offered a powerful lesson. That true wealth lies not in material possessions or a name carried by a son, but in the love one cultivate, the compassion we extend, and the integrity with which one live our lives. They understood. They saw that our family, built on love, resilience, and the unwavering bond between a mother and her daughters, was richer than anything he had ever possessed. This was our victory, not over him, but over the bitterness that could have consumed us. This was our justice, quiet and profound, a testament to the enduring power of kindness and the inevitable triumph of truth. If our story resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue to spread this message of hope and healing. And Section 6. The unseen hand of justice and the news of his spectacular downfall continued to ripple through the circles we once inhabited. It wasn't a public scandal in the traditional sense, but within the elite business world he had so desperately sought to conquer, his name became a cautionary tale. He had built his empire on a foundation of ruthless ambition, cutting corners, exploiting loopholes, and discarding anyone who stood in his way. Now, the varying system he had manipulated was turning against him. Lawsuits mounted, investors pulled out, and the carefully constructed facade of his success crumbled, revealing the rot beneath. I heard whispers of his desperate attempts to salvage his reputation, to regain even a fraction of what he had lost. But the damage was too extensive, the trust too deeply eroded. He was a pariah, shunned by the very people whose approval he had craved. There was no grand, dramatic confrontation, non-moment of personal triumph for me. Justice in this case was a slow, agonizing process, a relentless unraveling of a life built on deceit. My daughters, now teenagers, watched with a quiet intensity. They didn't NGLOAT, didn't celebrate his misfortune. Instead, they observed, their young minds processing the complex interplay of cause and effect, of actions and consequences. They saw that the very things he had valued, and above all else, wealth, power, a name to carry on, were the very things that had ultimately destroyed him. He had sacrificed his family and his integrity, his very soul, in pursuit of a legacy that now lay in ruins. I explained to them that true justice wasn't always about revenge, but about balance. It was about the universe, or perhaps just in human nature, course-correcting itself. He had sown seeds of bitterness and neglect, and now he was reaping a harvest of isolation and ruin. It was a harsh lesson, but a necessary one. They learned that the most profound consequences often came not from external punishment, but from internal decay of one's own character. They saw that while he hadn't sought to erase us from his life, our lives had flourished, built on a foundation of love, resilience, and the unwavering support of each other. Our home, filled with laughter and the vibrant energy of 7 growing girls, was a stark contrast to the emptiness that now defined NHI's existence. His pursuit of a male heir, a symbol of his perceived strength, had left him utterly alone, surrounded by the wreckage of his known making. This was the unseen hand of justice, working its way through NTHE intricate web of life. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was absolute. It was a testament to the fact that you cannot build a life on a foundation of cruelty and expect it to stand. And in witnessing his downfall, my daughters gained a deeper understanding of what truly mattered, not what you possess, but who you are and how you treat others. This was our quiet victory, a powerful affirmation of the values NWE held dear. If our story resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue to spread this message of hope and healing. Section 7. The unbreakable circle years melted into decades, and the small apartment we once called home NWAS, now a distant memory, replaced by a sprawling, vibrant homestead mailed with the laughter of grandchildren. My 7 daughters, noun-strong independent women, had each carved out their own remarkable lives. They were doctors, artists, teachers, entrepreneurs, each one an testament to the resilience forged in the crucible of our early struggles. They had not just survived, they had thrived, carrying the lessons of our past, not as a burden, but as a source of unwavering strength. Sarah, my eldest, became a renowned pediatrician, dedicating NHER life to healing children, her gentle touch a stark contrast to the harshness she had known. Emily, with her artistic soul, painted murals NTHAT, depicted stories of hope and overcoming adversity, her vibrant colors a celebration of life. Jessica, the teacher, instilled in her students not just knowledge, but a deep sense of empathy and self-worth. Nolivia, the lawyer, fought tirelessly for the rights of the vulnerable, NHER voice, a powerful instrument of justice. Mia, the entrepreneur, built a successful business that employed and empowered women, creating a community of support and opportunity. Sophia, the youngest, became an celebrated author, her novels weaving intricate tales of family, resilience, and the enduring power of love, ensuring that our story, and countless others like it, would echo through generations. And Grace, the quiet observer, became a compassionate therapist, helping others navigate their own emotional landscapes, guiding them towards healing and self-acceptance. We were an unbreakable circle, a matriarchy built on the foundations of love, mutual respect, and an unwavering commitment to each other. The memory of that cold night, of the locked door, and the echoing cries still lingered, a faint scar on the landscape of our past. But it no longer held power over us. It had become a reminder and testament to how far we had come, to the strength we had discovered and within ourselves. It was a story we shared, not with bitterness, but with a quiet pride, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a mother and her daughters. I often sat on the porch of our bustling home, surrounded by the joyous chaos of my grandchildren, a profound sense of peace settling over me. I had not given him a son, but I had given the world something far more valuable: 7 remarkable women who would shape the future with their compassion, their intelligence, and their unwavering belief in justice. His legacy, the one he had so desperately NCRAVED, had crumbled into dust. Our legacy, however, was vibrant, alive, and unbreakable.